now that you brought this question, I'm tempted to ask another question. Okay. So the question is, Earth, right? Planet Earth. Is it actually moving or is it at rest?
According to that is our method and everything, it is a station that is it is not moving. Earth in reference means it doesn't move. That's why we say that it is geocentric. Earthscope is geocentric.
Can you repeat, sir?
It is geocentric, sir. It is geocentric means Earth doesn't move.
Okay.
But sun moves. Then they will consider sun goes around the Earth.
Okay, sir. So my question, I'm not asking according to some model, Earth is moving or not. My question is, actually, in reality, is Earth moving or at rest?
Moving only, no, sir.
Okay, Earth is moving, right? Others, what do you think? Any different answers? Okay, so when you say moving, right? When you say moving, what do you mean, sir? What is the meaning of movement?
So we take a sun is a reference, and
motion is if you consider motion as relative, then Earth will be moving only when you with reference to an object outside the Earth, and it is at rest when you take the reference object as the Earth itself.
Okay, I got it. Okay, now it is like saying, now suppose this always happens, right? When we are in the railway station, we are sitting in a train and there is another train just next to our track. And sometimes when we see that there is a movement, when we see that the train is moving, you can't be sure whether that train is moving or we are moving, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right. So now, so basically, Sunil's answer, right? If I rephrase it in this train framework, so suppose there's a train moving at speed of 40 km per hour, 40 km per hour, and there is a tree. There's a tree outside. So, Sunil, what Sunil is saying is, with respect to this tree, the train is moving at 40 km per hour, but with respect to a person inside, the train is at rest.
Yeah.
But actually, what is the state of train? My question, but if I change my question to this context, my question would be, actually, what is the status of train?
Which reference here?
Sir?
What is the reference here? Is there a tree or a train?
Okay, so now my question doesn't have any such thing. So my question is, actually, is the train moving or not? So if the question is incomplete or not fully properly defined, you can say that. So with respect to things, yes, we just saw now how we can describe that. But my question is, actually, is the train moving or not? Does it have an answer? Does this question have an answer? If no, why not? So after you asked this question about Earth and Saturn, right? So I'm just now thinking, if you keep Earth as the reference, then what is the path traversed by the Saturn around the Earth? How will that be? I'm just thinking about it. But I think
the same example applies here. That is because you are given tree and a train. Same thing happened to us also. That Earth and the Saturn.
So yeah, I will come to that. I'll come to that. So first we will see whether Earth is moving or at rest. Okay, so you are saying that Earth is moving, right? And I'm just in this context. I'm just asking this question. Actually,
According
what is
to,
right?
okay, according to scientific, that is the Earth is moving then.
Okay, so when you say Earth is moving, right? What is the meaning of motion? What is the meaning when we say that Earth is moving?
Changing its place time to time.
Nice. Changing its
Yeah, with reference to a reference point, fixed point, fixed reference point.
with reference to a fixed reference point. If something is changing its position, then we say it is moving. So in space, what is the reference point? What is the fixed reference point it will take?
Then Sun is a reference there.
Correct. So with respect to sun, Earth is moving. That is very clear by seeing the sky. With respect to moon, Earth is moving. That is also very clear from all these observations, right? But these relative motions are well understood from what we can see from the sky. Okay, but my question is, in act, so yeah, this is the question: is the Earth? And now my question is excluded from all the different stars. Okay, actually, is Earth moving or at rest? So what is your response to this question?
Earth is moving, Shiv. Because if Earth is at rest, we don't have the concept of days and nights.
Oh, okay. So for that, if suppose if the sun is coming around the Earth, if the sun is revolving around the Earth in one day, right? Then automatically we'll have day and night, right? So Earth is at rest and sun is coming around the Earth.
Hmm.
It will result in day and night.
Yes.
So that's why motion is called relative, right? So you have to come outside the earth to see if the earth is in motion, and yeah, so that's why the motion is called relative. Earth
Okay.
is moving relative to sun, and sun is relative to let's say another moon. Let's say moon.
Correct. So then what happens to this question? Is Earth moving or at rest? So what happens to this question? Actually, this question.
When this depends. If you are asking this question on the earth, then we can say it is at rest. If you are asking this question on the moon, can say earth is moving.
So all motions will be related to 2 points, according to you.
Yes.
2 points.
Yeah, it is relative.
No. It is
Interest.
minimum. No, minimum there should be 2 points. You are telling about one is Earth and Moon you are taking. So then related to 2 points, we are taking that is a.
No. So what he is saying is, Sunil is saying there should be one reference point.
One reference point. I understood, sir.
One reference point is saying, and so Sunil is feeling that this question is actually this question by itself, is Earth moving or at rest, is not complete in itself.
Yes. Sure.
We cannot talk about motion just like that, right?
Yes, sure. Yes.
Right. So this question is basically ill posed, right, or meaningless. Can you say that?
Not meaningless, but
No. Sorry,
Yeah.
meaningless maybe.
uh,
Ill posed.
incomplete, maybe. Yeah. I mean, it's incomplete information.
Okay, fine. Right. So this is what Sunil's statement is. Again, others I would ask you to think about it and critique it. So now one more question to Sunil. Sunil, just that you answered this question. Okay. Now, is the Earth moving around the sun or the sun moving around the Earth? Is the Earth moving around the sun or the sun moving around the Earth? Now I'm talking about relative motion. Okay, so now I'm coming to your framework, but one more question is it possible to define absolute motion at all? Do you think it is impossible to define the concept of absolute motion?
Yes, I think it is impossible. Yes.
So that's just one thing. Okay. So if you see,
I feel, sir, both are right. That is what you said. First question is sun is goes around the sun, Earth goes around. Both I feel right
both
because both I say right because if you take it as a sun as a reference, then Earth is moving. Then Earth is when take it as Earth as a different, sun is moving.
okay. Okay.
Then
So you have to be outside both Earth and Sun
sun, yeah.
to
This,
say
that,
that.
one more thing here in our horoscope and everything, in our astrology, they'll say Earth is a reference, they will say sun is moving. That's also coming that revolution period and everything is same. Here also, according to scientific, according to heliocentric, it is also coming same. Then both are right, I feel.
Okay. Yes. So I'll come to this point. So now, suppose you might have felt this, right? If you're going in a car or bus, right? Um, no, okay. So just one point which Sunil made. So if you are on Earth, Earth is at rest, right? So Sunil, can I change that statement to if your point of reference is Earth, then you are at rest. So you can be at Earth and you can have your frame of reference as Moon, right? That is possible, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And you can always observe that what an observer from Moon will how an observer from Moon will see the sun, will see the Earth, right? So basically, it is not just where I am, but what I'm taking as a frame of reference.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right. No, that is one thing. Another thing is, so now this is one trait. So if you see, right, if you see one sharp distinction between the Indian way of thinking and the Greek way of thinking, the Greek and the subsequent European way of thinking, right? So there, it is always looking outside. So looking outside to find evidence. Okay. Now, if you have to analyze human body, take cadavers and cut it and study the physiology, how the organs work, and so on. Right. So in India, if you see the Indian thought on particular trait is, it's always you look inside. Right. So in this context, I'm just going to give you show you one scenario which we all would have seen. Okay. Now suppose they're going in a car. They're going in a car and the driver is like, okay, now the car is at rest and the driver is like suddenly putting the full throttle. Okay. So will we feel something, Sunil?
So is he putting the brakes, right?
No. Accelerator.
Okay, okay.
Okay, he's giving full power to the accelerator, right? So you'll be able to feel that movement,
Yes.
right? So basically, even if I blindfold you and keep you in a car, you will be able to distinguish certain kinds of change of motion.
Correct. Yes, yes.
Agreed.
Yes, yes.
Right. So now with this being the case, so you made a statement that okay, absolute motion cannot be defined. Maybe looking at the way our body feels, don't you think we might be able to come up with a definition of absolute motion?
I think still the motion is relative only because you are say you are moving, you are in a uniform motion and suddenly you move faster. I mean, suddenly the car accelerates, so you definitely you feel a change in the speed. because the reference, I mean,
Now, my point is, irrespective of what the frame of reference is, right? You as a person or anyone there would feel that would feel that acceleration, right? So can't we give a different definition of absolute motion, a more general definition, which will cover the definition of motion with respect to a reference point? I've just raised a question. Okay. Okay. So now, if
in
you
this case, the reference point is our own mind.
There should always be some real place in the universe. Well,
Then, in a science class, how do you explain mind then? How do you define a mind then?
okay, so now coming to this, okay, so that is one question which I raised, and here Earth is moving around Sun or Sun is moving around Earth. Jagdish sir feels that both are correct. So how are you saying that both are correct, sir?
See, that is what you said, no, sir. That is when we are standing, we feel that is absolutely we are rest when you are on the earth. We feel it is we are at rest position. Then we feel that movement of the sun. Okay, similarly this also.
No, that is relative motion, yes. But okay, so even this question is also coming under the relative motion thing only. So actually, if I just put this word, just note this word actually. So if I actually put this word question, actually is Earth moving around Sun or Sun moving around Earth? Okay, let's just take an example on Earth. Okay, on Earth we have a ground. In the center there is a tall pole. Okay, and there is a runner who is running the ground. Okay, this is path. So here, now suppose if somebody asks, is the runner going around the pole?
Our pole is running
around the pole, or pole is going around the runner? What would you say? You would say both are correct?
Runner around the pole would be correct. Because the runner is in motion, pole is at rest.
So is this absolute? Now Shankar, you're saying that pole is at rest and runner is in motion, right? So
pole is at rest with respect to me. If I'm running around the pole, I am actually moving. But if you take any if you're moving around, if you're moving in a circular motion, okay. So if you take any reference point, from any reference point while you are running, you see the pole and you keep running, okay. You are at motion because you are moving, but you are moving, but from wherever you see, the pole is at rest only, right? The pole is at the same point. It doesn't have any. It doesn't move. In fact, it doesn't. In fact, the displacement, there is no displacement, or there is no movement for the pole. Whereas you are moving, you have a movement.
Okay. So now, Sunil, as a Shankar, sometime back, Sunil made a statement that motion is always relative, right? So now, so he's saying that when you say I am moving, it is an incomplete sentence. You should always say I am moving with respect to something, right? But here, what you are saying is I am running. This itself is a complete statement. I don't need any reference. So this statement has a truth value. I am running. Okay, and the pole is at rest. The pole is at rest. And here I'm not talking about relative motion, I'm talking about absolute motion. Absolutely, the pole is at rest, and in absolute, I am running. Okay, so Sunil, do you have anything to say here? So now it looks like Shankar has given a context of absolute motion and absolute rest. What do you have to say?
No, still with reference to pole only, we can say that I am running, right? Or with how can with reference to pole only, we can say we are moving, we are changing our position. We are running or we are moving.
Suppose if the pole is not there, suppose if somebody comes and removes the pole, then can't you say that you are running?
No, still say, let's say my initial position is some initial position is something. So I can only say that I have changed my position only when I with reference to that initial position I have moved.
Okay. So now can't you tell the same thing about Earth with respect to initial position? If Earth has moved, then Earth is moving. Otherwise, Earth is at rest. Can't you make a similar statement there also?
Yes, but circular motion, I think there's a different.
Okay, forget about circular motion. Now the solar is running straight.
Observation for longer period is very tough, sir. Suppose, see here, sun comes and every day they will calculate, every day comes, they will calculate that. Then it comes Jupiter and Saturn and everything comes 12 in a year, 12 months, 12, it takes 12 years or 30 years. Sorry, actually, revolution of the Saturn is 30 years that revolution of Saturn is 30 years. Then how did they reference 30 years actually?
Okay.
What reference they take it as? How did they observe? That is my question.
Yeah. But how did they observe? I don't know. But at least for the planets, I know that observation is the origin. So planets.
Yes,
If you see the difference, again, I don't know this in detail, but especially the planets, right? While calculating the path of Jupiter, Saturn, and all, it was all observation. And if you see the geocentric model of the movement of Jupiter, right? It is very interesting. Okay, so if you just see that model itself, you will know how much of observation they have done to take it. And in text also, it is like it's always mentioned that okay, this is the model that we take, and this is exactly able to predict the motion of Saturn as observed. So these things come frequently. I have not read the original text, but I have listened to some scholars say that. But there are some questions, like for example, Indian, I think Aryabhatta, he gave a way to calculate the diameter of Earth, mass of Earth, distance between Sun and Earth, this many yojanas, this many this. I have no clue how they came to find that, because if you see, one way of doing it is if you know the speed of light and you can make some calculations. But at that time, how did they do it? I don't know. So there are some things which are really truly amazing how they did it. Right? Yeah. So just think about these questions. If you get some any clear views on that, we'll continue the discussion next time also. Okay. And I also think about this question about Saturn. So if Saturn takes 12 years to go around the Sun, then will Saturn take 12 years to go around Earth?
30 years.
Okay, 30. Yeah.
Revolution of the period of Saturn is 30 years. Sorry, I said not 12. 12 is Jupiter.
So here, one basic question is, now this is Sun and this is the orbit of Earth and this is the orbit of Saturn. This is the orbit of Saturn. Then if you keep Earth as a center, what would be the path of Saturn? How would it be? This is one question which will naturally come up here.
Very interesting.
One question is, now suppose I have two objects, so planet 1, planet 2. Okay. If I now keep planet 2 as the reference, can anyone tell me what would be the path of P1? Or can anyone trace the path of P1 around P2? Or it may not be around P2, it can be anything, but what would be the path of P1?
When it comes to orbit, it has to be elliptical, right? Generally, when it comes to solar system.
Yeah. So for simplicity, we're just considering a circle. Okay, now suppose that there are like two planets P1 and P2. Okay, fine, we can even consider it as elliptical. Consider this to be ellipses. Now, if you keep the Sun as a reference, then this is the motion. This is the path taken by these two planets. Now, if I planet 2 as a frame of reference, then how would the path of P1 be? Any idea? Okay, let me give some context here. Now suppose that there are different possibilities, right? If you look at the angular velocity of P1 and P2, angular velocity means in a given second, how much degrees it moves. Okay, so I mean, you need not keep second, you can keep it an hour or a day or whatever unit you want. So in that, how much degree it moves and how much degree this moves, right? So do you think this path traced by P1 with respect to P2, do you think it is dependent on the angular velocities of, we'll just keep W1 and W2 as angular velocities of P1 and P2. Do you think it depends on W1
Yes.
and W2?
Yes, sure. If the angular velocities are same, then with respect to P2, P1 is not moving at all.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if angular velocity is same, okay, then at this instant, this is the position. At this instant, this is the position. Okay. But there's a slight catch here. There's a slight catch here. Let us just assume that these two planets are not rotating. Okay, not rotating, they're
Just revolving around.
just revolving. Okay. If you have to trace P1 with respect to P2, how will it be? Sunil? P1 will be here at one instant, then at all instant, P1 is here only. Okay. Here there's a small catch here. So now, when I'm saying that P1 and P2 are rotating, I am fixing a frame of reference, which is the sun.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, if once we have a frame of reference, I can also fix the three axis, right? Okay, just three axis, fine. There's a person who is standing here on P2. Okay. Now, at this instant, he is looking directly at P1. Say you are standing on P2 and you're looking directly at P1. Okay, and now you are not changing your line of vision. Then as P2 moves, and if you keep seeing in the same direction, will you keep seeing P1?
Can you repeat, Chief?
Now, suppose you are standing on P2.
Yeah.
And you are looking at P1. You are fixing your gaze, you are fixing your face. You are looking at P1. Right? Now, after some time, you will not change your gaze at all. You are just looking in the same direction. Will you still keep seeing P1 forever?
I mean, if the angular velocities are different, then
No, angular velocities are same.
Okay.
You are fixing your body, your face, everything. You are not changing. Suppose this is some star. P1. This is the orbit of P2. Okay. Now, if the planet, this is planet 1 and this is planet 2, say we will just mark a point. We will just mark a point on P1 and mark a point on P2. Then what I'm saying, what the model that I'm taking is, even if this planet comes here, right, this point will be in the same place. Even if it comes here, it is in the same place. Here also, this planet, if it comes here, the mark is in the same place. So basically, this circle, as such, it's not rotating with respect to this axis defined by the center. Right? But
it's just revolving, yeah. It is just revolving around.
Just revolving. But if you see, yeah, so just revolving means this. This is the meaning of just revolving. But if you see the moon, right? In moon, this is not the case. Because now if in our model, at this point, say they will call this as the east and this as the west. This planet is in this orientation. When this comes here, Okay, that fixed point will be always on the north. Can you tell where the east would be?
Left
To the
side.
right or left?
Left.
That is in case of rotation of moon, the movement of moon. But here in our model, we are taking this as east and this as west. That is the only difference between what we are taking and the moon's thing. In the case of moon, we'll have east here and west here. If it is a moon, we would have the east here and west here. So basically, moon is again rotating. Now again, it is rotating with respect to what? With respect to some central axis. We can fix the axis either on sun or moon or something. Yeah. So now coming back. So now if this is our model, and person is standing on P2 and just looking at one direction, we'll keep seeing P1 always. So is this the path of? So is P1 at rest with respect to P2?
If you consider P2 and P1 as just points, I mean, if they have no dimensions, then it's true.
Okay, so I'm just getting. I'll, at this moment, I'll just pose another question. We can all. So now, this question is still there. Now, say there is an object here, okay, and on Earth, okay, for a person, for an observer, on just imagine something is moving on a straight line for an observer on Earth. Now, for an observer on Moon, for an observer on Moon, will this path be a straight line? It is a moving object. To take a very dramatic example, now suppose there is, somebody has to say something?
No, sure. No.
Okay, so there is one planet here and there is another planet here. Okay, and there is an object which is another object which is exactly at the same position as planet A. There is another object C. Now that planet is like moving in this direction. Okay, it is coming to B. This is going around B. This is the orbit of this. This is the orbit of this. Okay, and the C is moving in this path. It is passing through B and on this point. Okay, and just assume that by the time A comes from here to here, C would come from here to here. As this is point P1, this is O. A comes from P1 to P2. At the same time, C also goes from P1 to P2. Just let's answer this motion. Okay, and A is going around B. Okay. Now question is, what is the path of C? What is the path of C with respect to B?
Certainly, it will not be linear.
What?
It is not linear.
Path of
It's not a straight line.
Path of C with respect to B is not a straight line.
Yes. Because the position of A keeps on changing.
Correct.
So
my question is path of C
is parabolic.
A is going. So this is the path of. No, this is
the path of A keeps on changing. Yeah.
This is path of A, and this is path of C. So my question is, what is the path of C with respect to B? Just imagine that we have gone with a very sophisticated vehicle to some other planet, so some other galaxy, and there we are in planet B, and we note this change that we see this planet C coming towards us. Okay, and then it is not doing anything. This hypothetical state, it's just passing through us and going the other side. And then we see this A is going in this path. So we have got this map kind of a thing. So now,
Can we say this one same thing as we are launching rockets and everything for other planets? So even though we launch rockets or something, then it won't be a linear motion, right? According to Sunil, what you said. So it moves something same way, even the movement of the Earth. And suppose a C is a rocket, we feel that movement of the C won't be linear to come to this point P, P2. So anyhow, it takes some curve shape or a parabolic shape or something. What you drawn, same shape, it will take a same path will take. I think.
it's shown the rocket.
Yeah, if it is take it as a C is a rocket, A is an Earth. That is, if you take the movement of the Earth is like that. Suppose C is a rocket. So if you launch from A, then according to something, it reference would be it is in the not frame. It is not a linear motion. It's not a linear.
With respect to A, it is not linear.
Linear.
Right?
Yeah.
So do you agree that the path of C is not linear with respect to A?
Of course.
Yes, sure. Because
yes. A is also.
Yeah. When do you say that? When do you say that the path is a straight line? When there are two fixed points. But here in our case, A is not fixed; it is moving. So at position, I mean, at that position, yeah, we can say that. Yeah, since A is moving, we cannot say that it's a straight line.
Okay, so the path of C is not straight with respect to A or B. What is the statement?
Yeah,
both.
as I said,
both.
This is B.
both
This is
actually.
Both actually.
Okay, it is not straight with respect to A, but it is not straight with respect to B also.
Yes, sir. I feel. Because if it is linear means you should pass through B, right?
Yeah, it is passing through B. It is passing, this is the path, it is passing through B. Let us just assume that it is not doing anything to B. This is the path of C. This is the path of A.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we'll keep it as a rocket. It's a wonderful thing here. So now this is a planet A, and somebody has launched a rocket from C, and it is going exactly in this path. Okay, and by the time C comes to this position, the rocket comes to this position, the rocket is moving so slowly that by this time the planet has made half a revolution and come here. So it is going to the opposite pole. Suppose it is launched from South Pole. Here it will come and land at North Pole. Okay, all this jokes apart. Yeah. So now you still feel that this path of rocket is not straight with respect to B. With respect to A, it is clear, right? It is clear. It is not a straight line.
Yeah.
Just imagine this: you're standing on a road which is going very long, straight, without any change in both directions. I've heard that in the United States there are lots of such roads. It just keeps going straight. Okay. Now you're standing in the center of the road and there is a vehicle coming from far and it is coming from the horizon. Okay. Now you see that comes and it passes you and goes this side. Okay. Now is there any similarity between what you would observe in that road and what a person in this planet B would observe of this rocket? So what does it mean for a path to be straight? If you see an eagle flying straight in the sky, right?
Yeah, there should be two fixed points here. Then only we can say the path is straight.
Wait. Fixed points means what do you mean? So A also has two fixed points, right? So this planet A goes through point P1, P2.
Yeah.
It's a fixed.
No, but A changes its position, right?
So it's the case of C also, no? C is also changing the position, right? From planet 1 to planet 2. C is moving. C is
we
moving.
say BC is a straight line because let's say at the start A coincides with C. That's why we say it is straight. It is coming straight. And next moment, next minute, A changes its position. So we only say that CB is straight because A is coinciding with C. When A changes its position, so our reference point also changes. So it is no longer.
First point is always B only. We are in B. Okay, now if A goes from here to here, A dash, C would have come from C to C dash.
Correct, but that it would have changed, right?
So when A to B is, you say, linear, then A to C must be also, P2 also must be linear, right?
Yeah, but when you are at B, you don't see it as linear.
When you are at B, what you don't see as linear?
When you are at B.
What? Movement of what you don't see as linear?
The path of C dash. I mean, it is A dash, C dash, and C dash B, right? So
A dash, no, so basically A is a planet and C is a rocket. We'll just keep that. At this point, they are on the same straight line, and A goes upwards and C is coming towards B.
Correct. So now the path of C dash is A dash C dash B. It is not A C dash B.
Why is it A dash C dash B? You should look at the past points of C of the planet C, right? We are looking at no, the C has left planet A, right? So now if you look at now suppose there is Earth and there is a rocket. Okay. Now if you want to, and so suppose it is here, then it is here, then it is here, then it is here, right? And Earth has moved here, let us just say. So now would you look, now if you to find the path of the rocket, would you take these points or would you take these points also?
No, but in this case we are in B, right?
Yes.
In this case we are in B.
Yes.
If we are on the Earth, then definitely it's rocket. Yeah, we say it's straight.
Sir, one more question you raised, that when a kite is something falling straight to that is. So suppose if reference as Earth, we take it as movement of the Earth also, angular velocity, then how do you say kite is also coming straight to the Earth, that is?
How do you say?
Suppose a bird is coming from, that is, sky to Earth, you feel that is, sometimes a kite will come straight to that is. But if you take it as a reference of the movement of the Earth, when the movement of the Earth is, it is natural, then how do you say it is straight then? It won't be a straight at all, I feel.
Right. So now again, so just like we start with the question, is the Earth actually moving or not? Okay, is the Earth actually moving or not? So just look at this word actually, which is talking about some absolute thing, moving or not. Now we have a question. How do you determine if a path is actually straight or not? How do you determine a path is actually straight or not? Okay, yeah, so basically I'm just raising as many questions. I'm just raising lots of questions. Let us for now forget what the science has told us about the movement of Earth and movement of Sun and all. So now if we like just try to think, right? What sense does it make? Okay, and so just to add on to this, one more question. Now, Sir gave some very nice examples of the bird coming towards us from the top, right? So, with respect to us, the bird is coming in a straight line. At least we can say that much, right? Jagdish sir.
Yes, sir. I'm listening. Yeah.
To us, the bird is coming in a straight line, right?
Yeah.
So, for a person who is in moon,
yeah,
will the path of the bird still be straight? or we'll do one thing. We'll do one thing. So this is Earth, right? This is Earth, and there is a bird here in the sky. Then the Earth has moved here. The bird has come here. So this is the starting point, initial point. Okay, so basically what I was trying to ask is, what is the direction of light? I mean, what is the path taken by light? What shape is it?
Straight line. They say straight line. Yes.
Okay, so light travels to straight line with respect to which body? With respect to which planet? Now, if it is traveling straight with respect to sun, does it mean that it is traveling straight with respect to Earth also? Did you get my question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. we got it.
Yes, sure. Yes, sure. Now, since Earth keeps changing its position, we cannot say that the path traversed by light is straight.
My God! So what happens to the statement? So light is traveling straight with respect to which body?
With
And-
respect to sun, let's say.
Oh, so in the whole universe, light anywhere on the universe is traveling straight with respect to sun. So light has chosen sun as a very special object, is it? Why has light chosen sun as a special? Of course, sun is because of sun's energy that we are talking, thinking, smiling, laughing. It is because all the energy is because of sun. So definitely we should be grateful to sun. But why is light active? Now suppose if you consider two different stars, okay, stars are going in different directions, right? Then why should light choose one star over the other? So all these questions came up. Basically, these questions were there from a long time, especially since the time Newton wrote his Principia Mathematica. But more than attacking the foundations, his framework was provided very useful for analyzing a lot of things, a lot of celestial things and things in the solar system. His law of gravitation and his laws of mechanics, right? But then these questions were always there. These questions were always there, and it's interesting to see Newton's views on these questions. And then it took time for these questions to bubble up and change the way we see the universe. So, to see, you can say that one of the culminating points of these things is the work of Albert Einstein. And interestingly, Albert Einstein's work builds on non-Euclidean geometry only. But all those things, yeah, I don't know all these things. These are something which I myself am still working on. It's exactly what my current area of study is, to tell you. But yeah, these questions are like, at least the few of us starting questions, we can have more discussions, but these are worth some thinking. These are very interesting questions, worth some thinking. Yeah, so if you see the story of the general theory, so Einstein is known for a lot of things, basically. He got his Nobel Prize for what work? Can anyone tell me? For which of his work he got Nobel Prize? Any idea?
Theory of relativity.
No. He got Nobel Prize for photoelectric effect, his explanation of photoelectric effect.
He got 2 Nobel Prizes, right?
No, just one. So photoelectric effect is something which he explained, on which he got a Nobel Prize. And this we can say this theory is a starting point of quantum mechanics. Okay, right. At the same year, so this paper came in 1905. In the same year, he published 3 more papers, and he considers this year as his magical year. So photoelectric effect, and second is the special theory of relativity. So special theory of relativity. Then he had a paper on Brownian motion, and I don't remember the 4th paper. Yeah, so these 4 papers. So, and this paper he wrote when he was in the patent office. I think you must be all knowing, right? When he was working as a clerk in a patent office, in the spare time he worked on all these things. Then this is in 1905, but still this theory did not include gravitation. Okay, and so he was thinking separately on gravitation. He was like working till 1915. He was working on this, on the problem of gravitation, how gravitation relates to relativity. And during this time, he especially felt that so he did not pay so much of attention to mathematics when he was in his college days. But then when he came across this problem of gravitation, he really felt the need. So immediately he contacted his classmate, his college mate at Zurich Polytechnic. That's where he did his graduate school. And his name is Grassmann. So his name was Grassmann. And Grassmann, after that, he did his PhD on non-Euclidean geometry. So Einstein calls him up and says, "See, I'm having this problem, and these are some conditions that needs to be required. Can you help me?" And Grassmann immediately. So Grassmann, even though he did not appreciate the physics behind it, but at least he could help him with that non-Euclidean geometry, and then by like early part of 1915, right, he started making some progress, but still that mathematics was something which he got stuck. He could not make much progress despite Grassmann's help. Then he goes to this university named Göttingen. This Göttingen University was like the center of maths and physics at that time, at the early 20th century, 1900s, early 1900s. This was the center of mathematics. And there he goes and gives a talk on this. So he just gives the physics of it, and he just mentions, okay, this is the problem that I'm trying to work on, and I'm like stuck here. I've not made much progress here. And in the audience, there was a mathematician named familiar with this name? Anyone?
Yeah, Hilbert, I have heard. Hilbert's paradoxes, sir.
So Hilbert is a well-known mathematician. So he was there. So he picked up the problem, and he did not bother much about physics. So he saw that there was this problem related to some. There's a problem related to geometry, higher order geometry, and he started doing it. So yeah, this not many people know about this race towards general theory. So after some time, Hilbert makes some progress and sends a letter to Einstein saying that I've made this progress. And Einstein becomes shocked. He wants to complete the theory first, and then now he sees that Hilbert is also closing in. And then Einstein also like goes full throttle. So Einstein at that time, one of his biographer writes, he was looking at it from two aspects. So one from physics point of view and math point of view. He was like trying to attack from both the directions, and he also wanted to maintain some certain conditions, certain physics conditions. I'm not too sure about that. I don't know about that. But Hilbert did not care about that. He affected the problem, and he was just trying to get those symmetric equations. There's a weak set of equations to get the symmetry. So by this late 1950s, there was a terrific race between Einstein and Hilbert, and at last Einstein did it some 2 weeks before Hilbert. That is how close it came. Okay, Einstein publishes a paper, and then after that, Hilbert also submits his theory. But then after that, Hilbert made a very famous statement. He said that every student in the streets of Göttingen knows 4-dimensional geometry more than Einstein. So every student in the streets of Göttingen, that is, Göttingen is the university's name, knows 4-dimensional geometry more than Einstein, but the theory of relativity is his. So he acknowledges that to him. Yeah. So this is one story. So actually, and then both of them during this time the relationship ship got a bit strained because of this competition, and then after that they again became friendly and amicable. That is another story. Yeah, so this is a story about this unknown controversy behind this general, and this theory is known as the general theory of relativity. This is the general theory, and among all the theories made so far in physics, this is considered to be one of the most people rank it at the top, even above Maxwell's electromagnetic theory, his unification. Yes, so this is some bit of history about this theory of relativity, and the questions that we pose today are some basic questions which people were asking about space, about motion. What does it mean to move? What is a straight line? If light travels in a straight line, with respect to what object does it travel in a straight line? So all these questions and an attempt to find answers to these questions led to all these theories. That's the point. Right. So similarly, I think you might be also aware of. Are you aware of any other periodic disputes in maths history? And who discovered this first, me or him? Are you aware of any periodic disputes? So again, this is one very big difference between the Indian culture and the European culture. So in Indian culture, the authors never even care to write their name.
Yeah, they do not acknowledge. Yeah.
Some of them do sometimes, right? And so taking a claim to my result, it was something like it is increasing my ahangaram, egoism, right? But in the West, the culture was different. You publish or perish. This attitude was there.
Mm.
But there was another very famous periodic dispute for calculus. Who invented calculus first? So who is the inventor of calculus? So
Leibniz,
Leibniz.
right?
Yes, Shankar. So there was this periodic dispute between Leibniz and Newton. It was a very bitter dispute. Before the dispute began, Newton and Leibniz. So Leibniz was also another very towering figure of the German mathematics, contemporary of Newton, and most of the notation that we have in calculus, we take it from Leibniz only. Okay, but they independently discovered calculus at the same time. But then there was this periodic dispute, bitter dispute, and after that they were the same. They were like completely logarithms.
Yeah. Even in science also, there is this famous fight between Tesla and Edison over alternating current and direct current.
Correct. So here it is. Yeah.
I mean, Tesla, the thing is that I also heard that Tesla is actually underrated
Mm.
compared to other scientists. I mean, people celebrated a lot about Einstein, Newton, and Edison and all, but they forgot Tesla. Probably we can say that in the search of gold, we lost a diamond.
Mm.
Yeah, I've heard these things.
But later on, now people are actually realizing that Tesla was far more. Tesla was what to say. They are actually slowly. They are actually recognizing him now. At least at this point of time, I would say,
Correct.
compared
Yes.
to that time.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, so when you set up with Tesla and Edison, Tesla was watching for AC, and now it's fully AC, right? But at that time, most of Edison's products were from DC current, so he did not want to give up DC. But to prove that Tesla's ideas were dangerous, you know what he did? In an American city, I don't know, New York or which place, I don't know. He brought an elephant, okay, and he passed AC current through it till it burnt.
Mm.
So people that AC is dangerous.
Correct. Yeah.
The guy said that he died, but still,
Yeah.
this was their enmity between them. Right. Right. So we'll see. We'll meet next week.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, sir.